And we are live with another episode of Comic Talk. It's that show brought to you by The Keeg where we talk about this week's new comic book releases. For those of you who don't know, new DC comics come out on Tuesdays, new Marvel comics and indie comics come out on Wednesdays, and we're here on a Thursday, October 26th, 2023, to talk about everything that came out this week. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and if you're watching us live on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show, you can see who our guests are this week. But if you're listening to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast from, and that's A-OK too, you can't see him. So let's introduce him. He's been on the show many times before, but not as much this year. And that's because I think he's a mutant, and if he pops up too often, Orcus is gonna find out where he is, and we can't have that.
I do a lot of
no
hit and run
sentinels to Brian's house.
podcasting. Right. I have to do a lot of hit and run podcasting.
You just went
because
on
of
mute,
that.
but I don't know whether it's my fault or not. So give me a second.
Oh,
I can still hear him.
It might be my fault. So
yeah, can you hear me now?
it's my fault.
I can hear him.
It was my fault. What were you saying, Brian? What were your nuggets of wisdom?
I made a really great joke I was just saying I have to do a lot of hit and run podcasting because of that. Yeah. So, can't stay for too long. Sentinels are always on my tail.
Yeah.
But it's great to be here. It's great to be back.
I'm glad that you're back, because it is few and far between, and like it's not like back in the old days where we were, running the same gang, running the town.
Right. Yeah, and those hardcore podcast gangs that you're always hearing about.
Yeah. It's it's kind of like West Side Story.
It's exactly like West
When I
Side
think
Story.
about gangs, that's what I think about.
Yeah, the Jets and Sharks podcasting and their rivalry that they had over their podcasts, as we all recall,
Exactly.
in the famous musical. Yeah.
Somebody should reimagine that. That'll make tens of dollars.
No, I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to chat with you both about this week's comics. It's gonna be fun.
For people listening to the podcast, they're gonna be like, with you both, there's just Dimithri and Brian. I don't see anyone because I'm listening to the podcast. No, we got first time guests on Comic Talk. It's been in the works for a long time. Been talking to her agent. We just couldn't strike a good deal. But now we got Sammy from Skeleton Key Comics. Sammy, what's up?
Hey, just hanging. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
I know, it really has. I think we met online like a year ago.
Yeah. That's what's cool about online, though, right? Like, you can just meet random people that share the same interests, and you're like, oh, all right, I like your content. So, and I do like your content. So thanks for coming here. Sammy, you were telling me that you're more of a back issue girl, not so much a New Comic Book Day person. Is that true? Did I get that right?
It is. So I like to read like I like to watch Netflix. I like reading, like if you're listening, I'm sorry, you're not going to see my amazing volumes behind me, but I like to just binge read. So I love that. But we have a virtual comic shop, and I'm surrounded by thousands of comics that I'm constantly grading, and I'll see something from the 60s and I'll be like, ooh, and I'm just flipping through it, reading it. But then when I go to the shop, I just randomly picking up stuff and be like, ooh, this looks good, I'll read it. Just it's a surprise every week.
Yeah. That is wild to me. I mean, I can understand it, I can respect it, but I don't fully comprehend it, because I'm like, okay, so back when I used to watch a lot of TV, and I still watch a good amount of TV, but TV's not the same as what it used to be. I used to watch a lot of network TV, 3-4 shows a night, keeping up with all the things. And I treat my comics the same way, where it's okay, I'm going to read everything I can. And if I fall behind, I'll have to binge it later to catch back up. But I love my trades, though, because I buy trades so I can display them on my bookshelves. And then just keeping up with this as single issues, sure. It's a means to an end. But my trades are my first true love.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like some of the volumes because like Paper Girls has like that shine, like you can see that one's like super shiny and like glittery, whatever. Like same with the I Hate Fairyland, just looks like so cool. So I do like the trade paperbacks, and sometimes I'll like read as the trades come out, and then I buy the volumes anyways, just because they're super cool.
Yeah. Wait, are the volumes like just the big compilations of trades? Is that what we're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
it's
there's
like
so many words
big.
out there for
I
comic book
know.
stuff, right?
Then there's the omnibus because like I
Yeah.
have the giant size X-Men 1 omnibus, so I'll read like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Chris Claremont first joined in and like brought X-Men back.
Yeah.
So like that's like this thick.
I
It's
mean,
like 2 inches.
It's funny you say brought him back because X-Men was on a hiatus for years back in the early days of X-Men. But we say brought him back, but like Chris Claremont is peak X-Men. Like X-Men wouldn't be what it is now if it wasn't for Chris Claremont doing an almost 20-year run.
Yeah.
And
for
introducing
sure.
the best characters.
Yeah. Because they started remaking those issues. Like things kind of got a little shaky back in the day, you know?
Oh, because where they were doing reprints, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the 50s, 60s issues and so on. Like,
yeah. It's kind of like when a musical artist will release a new album, but it's not a new album. It's just like here's the live version of my album, or here's the acoustic version. And it's like,
right? Well, you know, it's interesting. Music. There's a series I collect called X-Men Classic. It was called Classic X-Men, and then changed to X-Men Classic at a certain point. Mm-hmm. But what was interesting about those is that in a lot of the early ones, Chris Claremont actually went in and added pages to it to like better connect to stuff that would happen down the line. So they're kind of like the X-Men equivalent of the George Lucas tinkering with Star Wars to make the special editions. Yeah, that's interesting stuff to see like what he added in. It would be like a page or two per issue, but it was clearly stuff where he was like, okay, I can kind of like smudge or massage this little this little continuity bit that I ended up setting up later. I can maybe set it up a little bit better this time around so it flows better for people who are reading it in this series.
Or they're just like random pages of Magneto like talking about talking to Scarlet Witch as his daughter, and then the added pages are like, well, how do I know she's actually my daughter?
Yeah, just little things like that.
Wouldn't it be crazy? Yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy if she wasn't my daughter? And like, maybe it has to do with the high evolutionary or something. Who knows?
It's just him looking at the camera and going, hypothetically, maybe she's my daughter. We'll see.
Who knows?
We'll leave the door open.
You know that Lorna Dane girl that I said was my daughter but isn't my daughter? Maybe I was wrong and she is my daughter. Who knows?
Yeah. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of who knows.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it's interesting. It's good stuff.
So out of all the books this week, there were a lot of books. There were a lot of DC books. There were a lot of Marvel books. There were a lot of indie books. Got to give, indie their proper dues. What would you guys read this week?
Like what would I recommend?
No. But like all in all, like what did you read that came out this week?
Oh, gotcha. Brian, did you want to go first?
Sure. All right. So I read Dark X-Men #3, Uncanny Avengers #3, Jean Grey #3, Realm of X #3, Uncanny Spider-Man #2, Conan the Barbarian #4, Miss Marvel: The New Mutant #3, Dracula #1, Unstoppable Doom Patrol #7, Rare Flavors #2, Amazing Spider-Man #36, and Immortal Thor #3. A lot of threes this week for yours truly. A lot of threes.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. I read Marvel Zombies #1, Dracula 1, Hallows Eve, Edenwood #1, Amazon Attacks #1, and Gone #1.
Okay, very nice. And like Gone is from Distillery, right?
Right. Yeah, Jacques did. The one I picked up was like the Jacques cover, and he like obviously did the story, and then I got the like don't read, don't
Have you guys read a lot of Distillery books? Because that just came out like last month, right? Like
Distillery?
Well, there's
as
only
a company.
Yeah, there's only the
yeah.
one.
The Devil's
Gone is the first one.
Oh, it's Gone the first one, and then Devil's Cut was.
It was
No,
like it was
Devil's Cut was the first one, right? Oh, sorry.
It was it was gonna say it was basically kind of like a big anthology preview of all of the books. Like there's a little preview for Gone in Devil's Cut. Yeah. So it's kind of like a sampler that gives you a little bit of everything, like a 3 or 4 page kind of like pitch on each of the books.
Yeah. I like that wording because I was thinking it's like a trailer.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. It was,
but rather
the Devil's Cut's crazy good.
I was excited to pick up Gone, and then I didn't realize it was like a big book. So I was like, all right, a little out of my budget this week. I'm gonna have to come back for this next week. But all of the ones in the Devil's Cut, I was like, yeah, I would probably check each of these out. What did you think of Gone? Did you like it overall?
I liked it. It was very good. Like it's something that I feel like I could easily envision. You know, I could see the whole, like close my eyes, I could walk around the book, you know?
Very
cool. It was
very
really good.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how this company does. I don't know if it's easy in this modern day and age for a new company to get up and get started, but they seem to have a really good set of talent behind them for these initial books.
Especially because, and I mean, I hate to get off tangent and whatnot, but they seem very hipster, very like art forward. No, not in a bad way, but like it seems very hipster, like in an art forward.
Right.
Creator ownership, like awesome stuff, right? But like compare that, Marvel and DC, big two, been around a lot, but Image recently, and I only noticed it this time around with Dracula #1 that came out this week. They're doing a Universal Monsters line of comics. And then I had to think, I was like, wait, but Image also has Transformers now. And then I thought, wait, isn't Transformers Universal? Like Paramount, Universal, whatever? Because Transformers Ride is at Universal Studios. So
yeah,
they must have a deal with Universal stuff.
But do you know what the common thread is between those two books?
No.
Besides Universal, they're both Skybound books. They're both part of Robert Kirkman's imprint.
Dracula's Skybound?
Yes.
Okay. So what's AMC and what's Amazon? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because AMC had Walking Dead, Amazon had Invincible.
Yeah. Robert Kirkman throwing around his Walking Dead fuck you money a little bit and being like, I'm gonna cash it on some license here and license some comic.
Maybe he knows some people,
entities
right?
and IPs. No, for sure, he's definitely using those connections to his advantage. And then to tie it all back together, then you wonder like, is something like Gone, which comes in this like beautiful like oversized anthology book, which was and it was like
so good.
How much was it though?
This was $8.99,
which isn't bad. You're getting a lot of book for that.
The paper is like I told Tony, like the paper is like super luxe. Like the cover has like this velvet, like this matte feel. Like it just feels like super luxurious. So I'm like, it costs some money to print that.
Right.
It feels expensive.
But you're getting a good amount of story in that too.
Yeah, and the pages are bigger too, which I mean, I feel like it gives you a lot more to read, but it's pretty thick.
Is it comparable to like a Black Label book?
Okay.
So, I mean, we're seeing the comic industry do what it needs to do to survive. You know, whether it's IP, whether it's, vary their stuff and vary their content and whatnot. But like DC has Black Label, Distillery seems to be going down that kind of luxe kind of path. But like the IPs is what really interests me, because I'm like, Who would have thought? I don't know. It's interesting. That was what Brian read, right? Brian, you said.
No, I haven't got a chance to read it yet.
Oh no, what I mean is, your. Okay, yeah. How many lists did we go through already? But was it just Brian, right?
No, we did mine.
Oh,
I just finished with Gone, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry, my mind is all over the place.
So what was your list, Dimithri?
So my list is next.
That's what list we forgot.
Like,
your list.
Who
right? I was like, I didn't want to say it, but it was bro,
me. It was me.
It's you.
I don't have all the images prepped, but it's fine. I read Marvel Zombies Black White Blood #1. There's so many that I wanted to read this week and I didn't get the chance, and that's like an embarrassment of riches sort of thing, because a lot of good comics came out this week, but I didn't get a chance. Amazing Spider-Man 36. I read Jean Grey #3. I read Miss Marvel New Mutants #3. I was very close to finishing Uncanny Avengers #3. Captain America #2. And then I also read Green Arrow #5. And I read... Oh, Alan Scott Green Lantern #1. Alpha Flight #3. And that might be it. Oh, Marvel Unleashed #3. So
nice.
I think those were my books. I don't think I read anything more than that.
Did you list any indie?
I tend to not read indie, not because I hate indie. I support indie comic publishers.
I'm shook.
I just like shared. I like shared universes.
I've been trying to get this guy to read more indie books for years now, and he just will not budge.
I have read some. Stray Dogs.
He said to me, I would never. He said to me, I would never read an indie book.
I never said that.
He said, I'd rather die.
We have this all on tape. If anyone out there wants to go through all the episodes.
Yeah, you know what? Everyone should go through all the episodes multiple times. Get those numbers up.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Listen to them backwards, and you'll hear the subliminal messaging of what Dimithri really feels about indie comics.
No.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't me. I swear it. No, it's kind of like the same way I do with video games. Is I don't read or I don't play that many video games, but when I do, it tends to be like an IP related video game. Because like those are the characters I like. Those are the stories that I like. And even if they're bad, then at least like you're playing a bad Star Wars game. So what, you know? It's like, okay. But like it took me a long time to play Uncharted. And I started playing Uncharted on #4. And I'm like, why didn't I give it a shot earlier? Because I didn't know what Uncharted was. I don't know. So
I don't play on Uncharted, and I know what that is right now in this moment.
Yeah. But then I loved it, and then I was like, I wish I was there from the beginning, but I wasn't, you know?
I'm gonna have to sit you down with a list one of these days and be like, you gotta read all these.
I mean, yeah, you'd be surprised how many like classic, iconic indie books I have not read.
Maybe that should be the podcast, is we make a giant list of all the indie books you haven't read that you should have read by now, and we go through them all.
I mean, you know, you do you. However you feel. All right, so after all that, what were you guys' picks of the week?
Ooh, Brian, you go first. I'm gonna keep saying Brian,
sure?
you go first. Yeah.
No, you can go first. You're the new guest. You should go first.
All right. Okay, I had two, honestly.
Everybody always has two.
I am all
for
multiple
picks of the week. If I had to narrow it down, I would have to go with Dracula because the art was so just amazing. Simmons' art is just like,
all right. Let's talk about it.
So good. So for those watching, you'll get to see the comic. If you're not watching, I guess you'll have to go back and watch after you're done listening. So here it is.
Oh,
That's the
I
cover.
have
So
the
good.
I put the image of the comic up.
So, okay. Absolutely gorgeous art. So that's why it's going to end up being number one.
Mm-hmm.
I love the whole monster thing. And like, especially when it's October, I feel like really in the spirit of like, oh, it's spooky season. Let's read something that's a little bit scary. But I love, I don't want to give it away. I don't know how much, how spoily do you guys get on here? Do you get very spoily, or are you like?
I mean, we do. I mean, the goal is to entice people to read the comic, sure, but also like we're giving our reviews, and like we do talk about spoilers. It is what it is. It's a case by case basis, especially with the issue number one. Also spoiling issue number one because there's gonna be more issues. You know.
I also think if people haven't seen the nearly 100-year-old film Dracula starring Bela Lugosi, that's on them. I don't think that's our fault anymore.
This is true.
They should have gotten on it by now.
This is true. So it's mainly about Dracula and his sidekick, mainly focusing on his sidekick, the first issue.
Is that Renfield?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's mainly talking about Renfield, and I think I'm excited about the whole like monsters universe thing.
With the comics?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because they try to do a movie shared universe.
Yeah.
Remember?
Well, I want every single issue. And I'm like a little worried that I'm not gonna like get them because I might be gone before I get one or something.
Wait, what does that mean? What?
They sold out like crazy fast.
Oh, I thought you said you might be gone, and I was like, what's going on?
No, I'm worried they might be gone.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just like some dark humor. It's like the next, you know, next time, who knows if I'll be around? I don't know.
She was enthralled by Dracula reading this. She's like, this Dracula guy's got some good ideas. I might go follow him.
Go be a vampire.
Is the series from Renfield's point of view?
Oh,
because both you guys are
really,
right?
Not really.
Yes. Oh. But it's kind of following. It's been a minute since I've watched the original Dracula film, but it's definitely following the story fairly closely. So the opening of the story, it's a lot of Renfield from the jump, because he's kind of the sort of inciting incident that leads to the mystery of who is Dracula. So you get a lot of him in it. And it's worth noting, and I think this is probably part of the reason why it was selling so much, is that this is the creative team behind Department of Truth, James Tynion IV, and Martin Simmons.
Yeah.
Who, like you, I'm just going to repeat what you said, is killing it on the art. Like, it's very Bill Sienkiewicz-esque painterly style artwork. The way he draws Renfield, where he just kind of looks like a pale, like, scarecrow man, is just really incredible. And then there are these really gorgeous splash pages that pop in throughout, of Dracula sucking people's blood and stuff that are just really incredible. So even if this is a property or a story that you know really well, it has rarely been told this beautifully, through the art especially. So I would definitely recommend people check it out because it's very cool.
I might pick this one up. Again, I like the idea of shared universes. And so even when it came to like when I was a kid watching sitcoms, I love the sitcom crossovers. Like when Urkel used to cross over with Step by Step or Family Matters, like Urkel would make appearances on other sitcoms and like super, I don't know, they're just super fun. So I love shared universes. So like if this does well, if this is part of a monsters universe, then maybe Universal, because they failed with the movie stuff, maybe the comics is the way to go. And then I'm on board.
I want this to do well because I want them to do my favorite Universal monsters, which are the creature from the Black Lagoon and the Bride of Frankenstein. So I want to get those out. Let's do it.
That'd be cool.
My favorite monster is like a werewolf in general. I know it's the Wolfman with Universal, but like, so any werewolf content, I'm here for.
Sounds good. Just do them all.
Yeah.
I'd be here for it.
Well, not all. Do I need like? Wasn't Phantom of the Opera one of them?
Yes, but that original Phantom of the Opera movie rips. Have you ever seen it?
No, I've just seen his face.
Oh,
Not a fan.
He's good face, scary face on that guy.
It's a good face, scary face.
Sammy, what's your favorite monster? Because I guess this is our Halloween episode, I guess, but
I would say for me, I love Dracula. Like I have almost the entire Tomb of Dracula run. Like I am Dracula.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm aware. Like, you know how like some people are cat people and some people are dog people? Like, I'm a werewolf person, you know?
And Werewolf by Night's super cool too.
Some people are vampire people, some people are werewolf people. I feel like those are the two types, you know? And like, sure, there are other monsters out there, but that's kind of like when you bring up dog people and cat people and somebody's like, I'm a bird person. It's like, get out of here. We're not talking about birds and fish and turtles and snakes. We're talking about dogs and cats.
Me being like, I like Frankenstein.
I like the Invisible Man.
Well, my hope for these is that they get like great creative teams for each one, because I think Simmons has really raised the artistic bar right off the bat with this. So if they could get really cool artists to do each one, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. Sammy, what was the second pick that you wanted to say that was like in the running?
Edenwood.
Okay. I mean, we can talk about Edenwood. I mean, I don't know.
Have you read
Edenwood,
what is Edenwood, Brian?
Yeah,
No, I don't know what this is. Is this a first issue or is this something that's an ongoing?
Yeah, it's Edenwood #1. And it's crazy. It's basically a world where like witches and demons like exist, but not in like a campy, like done it a million times way. So basically the world is taken over by like this whole basically like witch versus demon war. I don't want to say too much because it is a very like meaty story. But anyways, this basically I'm just gonna call it cursed forest. This cursed forest where like this war is keeps like expanding on the land, and if you get trapped in the forest, then you're a part of it at that point and you can't ever get out. You just have to survive.
Oh.
And like time changes way different. So like they were saying like depending on what area of the forest you're in, like 5 minutes could be 5 years or 5 minutes could be 5 hours.
Whoa.
On the other side. Yeah.
Right. Who is the publisher and creative team of that book?
It's Image, Tony Daniel.
Oh,
and Jay Ramos.
He's writing and drawing that, right?
I don't know, honestly. Like, I saw it and grabbed it. Oh, okay. But yeah, it's really good.
What's he known for?
Tony Daniel?
Yeah.
He did some of Grant Morrison's Batman run. He's done a lot of like DC books. He did Nocturna with Scott Snyder.
Noctera?
Also Noctera, excuse me, yes.
Yeah.
But this is his first time writing and drawing, I think.
Well, the art's really good. I mean, he did a great job.
The cover art looks sick. I totally forgot that was the name of it. I'm gonna have to check this out.
Yeah, you'll have to. The world has so much potential. Like I could definitely see they could write this like longer than Spawn.
Wow. All right.
Like it's so good.
Huh. I'll have to check that out. That sounds really good. You sold me.
Brian, it's too late to change your pick to Edenwood.
My pick is a book I haven't read. It's called Edenwood. It sounds cool.
What do you got? What's your pick of the week?
All right. I have 2 picks and a chaos pick. What is the new thing I'm trying this week?
Okay, I need to start picking my guests according to who can follow directions. You know, because every time, and it doesn't even matter who. It's not just you guys.
It's hard to pick. It's like which child is your favorite? Which dog is your favorite? Like,
and there's such variety.
Yeah, you can't.
I have like, for me, it's like an indie book and a Marvel book, and then the chaos.
You know why Keeg doesn't understand is because he doesn't read indie.
That's true. That's true.
If he had,
you guys are such hipsters.
If he read it, he would get it. You know,
yeah,
if
he read indie, he would get it. So he don't.
You know,
you guys,
the girls who get it, get it. That's all I gotta say, Dimitri. That's all I gotta say.
Well, thanks. Yeah, for making fun of me. Thank you so much.
No, we do it out of love. We do it out of love.
No, it's all right. I was gonna make fun of you guys, and I was gonna say the only person that follows my rule about like one pick, or at least the best person who follows the rule is Manny, because when Manny Hondres comes on the show, he has a scoring system for each of his comics. He does he does 5 categories, 3 points each. And he goes, whichever one scores the highest is my pick of the week. And then I'm like, all right.
It's a rubric.
Thank you.
Well, I can't do that. My brain's not capable of doing that. So I'll start with my more mainstream pick, and then maybe I'll talk about my other picks later.
All right.
I'm gonna say Immortal Thor #3.
Interesting. Okay.
Dimitri, have you been reading Immortal Thor at all?
So here's my opinion about Thor. I like Thor.
Oh boy!
It comes down to the run. Because with Thor, I don't like the old school, like, verily, have at thee sort of Thor. And so, like, I like, you know, I've liked Jason Aaron's Thor and whatnot, but like,
sure.
I don't know whether I like the ha-ha. You know?
I see. Well, I disagree with you, but I respect your opinion.
Yeah. Do you like the old Walt Simonson Thor?
My jam.
Yeah,
that is like, oh, but what about? All right, we're not gonna get into this.
It's not. I mean, I like the characters and stuff that he created, but like the flow of the comic isn't my thing.
Run, I think, is getting very much kind of back to that. Have you read any of the Immortal Thor stuff yet?
I think I read like halfway in the first issue, and I couldn't. I couldn't.
Wow.
But I just love the previous runs. I loved the previous runs.
Right. It is cool because it feels very much like Al Ewing doing myths, where this issue, if I'm going to spoil some of the previous issues, so sorry. But in the previous issue, Loki has reverted to his villainous ways, seemingly, and got a sick new redesign where Loki has this very like gender non-binary kind of look to them now, and it's incredible. It's awesome. Okay. But Loki traps Thor within this sort of empty void nether space, and the whole issue is essentially Thor trying to unravel a series of clues that Loki gives him in order to get his way out. And by the end of the issue, you discover essentially this was a test that Loki was putting Thor through and why he was doing that. But part of the reason I love this so much is that Al Ewing, great about following his work is that he's been sort of building meta narratives between all of his comics, like the fact that he previously wrote Loki, Agent of Asgard, and so much of that was about the idea of Loki abandoning his villainous ways, but also understanding that he has roles to play within a story. So the idea of him being a quote-unquote villain in this story is him saying, essentially to Thor, you have to understand, this is the time for me to play the villain, not to truly be evil. So there's a metatextual element to it as well. And then it ends the promise of a Thor and Storm team up to tie it all into his X-Men Red stuff.
Oh, okay,
so it's like all of the pieces are coming together in a really cool and interesting way. So Thor #3. I like when he talks like he's fake Shakespeare. I think it's cool and good.
Fake spear.
I'm all in on Fakespeare. More Fakespeare comics. That's what I say.
Yeah, I can't do that. I mean, it makes it fun to like voice, but the voice in my head sounds like Aquaman from Batman Brave and the Bold.
That sounds good. I don't know. That sounds pretty great.
It's too much. It's what were your other picks then?
So my indie pick would have been Rare Flavors #2.
Looks like it was a good week for comics, you know.
It was a good week for comics. Great weeks for comics. Yeah. Which is written by the team that did last year's Many Deaths of Layla Starr, which was one of my favorites. Ron B. and Felipe Andrade. I think you would really enjoy this one. Yeah. So the premise of it is that a Rakshasa which is a demonic creature from Hindu cosmology, decides to essentially become an Anthony Bourdain type figure and wants to create a travelogue cooking show. And the wacky shenanigans he gets into with the documentarian, who he's kind of forced to go with them along the way.
Okay.
And it's just such a like beautifully drawn, beautifully written book. The sort of high concept of each issue is that each issue focuses on a recipe, and there's kind of like a thematic resonance of the history of that recipe and how it developed over time that connects to the story. And it's really just all about the way humanity tells stories, but also the way that we use food as an art form, as a form of expression in a way too, to share ideas and stories with people. It's a really incredible book. I love it so much.
It sounds like an artistic mashup
so good.
of like,
it definitely
like
is.
Art in different mediums, art as recipes, art as, you know.
Yeah.
Sammy, what are you gonna say?
It's kind of.
Oh, I was just gonna say it sounds like it was good. I almost got it. I didn't pick up one, so I was like, I was looking at it too. I was thinking like, oh, I could get 1 and 2 and read it, but I had already grabbed a lot, so I was like, oh, maybe I should focus on trying to read everything I got.
That's fair.
Well, I think like Layla Starr, it's only going to be like a 5 or so issue miniseries. So the trade will be out. The trade will be out probably early next year at some point. And yeah, if there's folks out there who'd rather wait, definitely wait and then pick it up as soon as you can, because it's real good. I'm a big fan.
You ever wonder like miniseries that, you know, like actually finish and that's it? Whether what would have happened if editorial was like, no, it needs to be an ongoing. And so it's like, okay, so then you get what? Like a
part 2?
Like an Egyptian god that is wants to go to Japan to be a sushi chef.
Hey, that sounds great. It could be Raw Dreams of Sushi. That sounds really good. I'm into it.
Why did I? That actually.
See, you accidentally came up with a great idea. You need to write this down and pitch it to Rom V. It's like follow up to Rare Flavors.
There you go.
We could all. I mean, yeah. Okay, I'll talk to him. I'll see what we can come up with. What was your chaos pick? So like, okay, Sammy comes at us with 2 picks. Had to pick one.
Do you want to say a pick, or do you and Sammy want to share a little bit? Because I think I've been talking a lot.
I mean, no, you're good. What's your chaos pick? I wanted to know. I'm curious.
Throw it out there.
You can't just say that and leave us.
A little obscure, esoteric title. Amazing Spider-Man number 36.
It was great.
That's right.
It was amazing. Weird. It's so weird because this run has not been good. But it's gotten way better.
Continue.
Well, I blame editorial. I don't blame the writer. I know everybody's been blaming the writer for months, if not years now. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's the writer. Who's the writer? It's Zeb Wells.
Zeb Wells.
So Zeb, you know, Zeb's a good writer. I think it's Marvel editorial telling him, this is what you have to do with Mary Jane. This is what we're leading to with Miss Marvel. You just got to like shoehorn her in. You know, she's going to die, but then come back a month later. But like, you have to do it.
Right. And look, at the end of the day, I think the Miss Marvel thing was dumb. The way it all played out. And the way it was obviously like, this is not going to last at all.
Right.
But you know what? Even if it was his idea, it's like sometimes a writer has a bad idea and then we move on with our lives. You know, people are saying this is the worst Spider-Man run ever. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Sins Past exists. And as long as the bar is what they did with Norman Osborn and Gwen Stacy in that story, you would have to try really hard to write a worse Spider-Man story than that. You just would.
And that being said, also, there's bad Spider-Man stories, but there's also really boring runs.
Yes, very true. So I think this issue in particular was a hoot. It has my good, close personal friend, Rec Rap, in it, who I love.
Sammy, do you know anything about Rec Rap?
No, I am not on the up and up at all with Spidey.
Okay.
Unless it's from like the 60s or the 70s.
That's okay. Just know that there was something happened with Limbo, and there was a demon that idolized Spider-Man.
Classic.
His name is Rec Rap, which is Parker backwards. And Rec Rap decides to put on his own Spider-Man suit which he thinks looks identical to Spider-Man, and
Right.
go fight crime. And his crime are demons that are like the Sinister Six, called the Insidious Six. But those demons' purpose is just to make Wreck Rap, to be the villains to Wreck Rap.
Right.
And then
so they're trapped in this vicious cycle.
Yes. And like, but he's Bizarro for Spider-Man.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's this like super beefy, dumb idiot Spider-Man who's just constantly getting into shenanigans, and Peter Parker has to bail him out.
And he has different names for Spider-Man's things. Doesn't he call it like a spider brain tingle?
Yes, his spider brain tingle is what he calls his Spidey sense.
Which he doesn't have.
Lots of fun stuff like that. No, he doesn't.
He doesn't even have a spider sense, and it's I don't know.
It sounds hilarious.
Yeah. And I also have a new rule I want to put out onto the internet, a decree that I want to make.
Okay.
Which is, you are only allowed to complain about this amazing Spider-Man book if you also talk about how good the Miles Morales book is. Because I'm tired of people being like, there's no good Spider-Man comics right now. Miles Morales Spider-Man is a almost perfect Spider-Man comic on a pretty regular basis, so just go buy that and stop wasting your money on a book you don't like. I don't know. It doesn't seem that hard.
Yeah. I mean, Miles Morales and Kamala Khan are essentially the two new Peter Parkers in the best way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You want someone you can like relate to. You want someone who's like a kid again. Like, that's why I think Peter Parker should grow up, marry Mary Jane, have a kid in continuity. Just the best thing that DC ever did was make Superman a father.
Sure. Yeah.
There just wasn't enough places to go with Superman without exploring that part.
And that sort of de-evolution of Peter has been a thing that's been going on with Marvel since like the Clone Saga. And it's unfortunately like a ball that has been rolling so far, so fast at this point. It'd be really difficult to undo it.
Yeah.
Which is why, did you see the announcement about the Jonathan Hickman Ultimate Spider-Man book that came out today? What the premise of it is?
The announcement? Is there new news?
There's new news.
The most recent news I heard was about Peter B. Parker, but what?
He will be married to Mary Jane in the book with 2 kids, a adult or an older, close to teenage child named Ben, and I'm not clear on the girl's name. And it seems to be that he will become Spider-Man for the first time, midlife in his 40s as a dad.
That part's the interesting part.
Yes, I agree with you.
My opinion, I don't know. Sammy, do you have hardcore opinions about Spider-Man and
hardcore?
Yeah. You got any hot takes?
Not really.
Okay.
Not any hardcore opinions. Okay. No.
You're better off not having hardcore opinions. Honestly, you'll sleep better.
A hot take about Marvel is that one of the smartest ideas Marvel ever did was create 2 universes, the Ultimate Universe and the 616, right? Concurrent.
Mm-hmm.
DC tried to do it on a couple different occasions and failed, including New 52, which was essentially Ultimate DC, but not. And it was the only universe at the time. So Marvel gave an alternative. That being said, my problem with Ultimate Spider-Man being older is that I want 616 Peter to age, and Ultimate Spider-Man should explore, but then again, it'd be a rehash of the old Ultimate Spider-Man. But Ultimate Spider-Man would be the young stories, and then have Peter grow up in 616.
But I also think what we're seeing, to contextualize it a little bit, is that when they started Ultimate Spider-Man, it was at a time when the majority of Spider-Man stories were him older. It had been a while since he had gone back to high school. We didn't have 3 different movie trilogies that reset him to high school, or multiple cartoon series within 10 years that all reset him to high school. And I think what we're seeing is a reaction to that, in the same way the original Ultimate Spider-Man was, gee, wouldn't it be cool to see young Peter Parker stories again? Now we're seeing the inverse, where the reaction is, I want to finally see Peter grow up. And they have trapped 616 Peter in this really precarious situation where they can't reset him anymore because that wouldn't make any logical sense within the universe. And then the reverse is true. They can't age him too far because if Peter's the only character getting significantly older, why is no one else getting older? They've kind of trapped themselves.
I have an idea that I'm going to throw out there. I think they should, and some people might hate it. Some people might hate this. I think they should tackle the meta story or the meta context of Peter being in a cycle. And they should bring in Madam Web, bring in somebody, say that for some reason his web is a cycle, and have them fix it and give Peter almost a brand new slate where his fate is his own. And anything can kind of happen. You don't need to redo the timeline, but just going forward, what if he started his going forward without any girlfriends, right? What if he started forward with like no best friend? Because his best friends have been changing a lot, right? But when you cut that cycle, you're like, is his best friend gonna be Randy Robertson, Harry Osborn, Flash Thompson? Like, he can make his own choices. Who does he love? Who does he hang out with? Where does he live? You know?
Yeah.
And then set him on a path of now he can grow up, be whoever he wants.
Yeah, I don't know. Sounds like you want to hyper time Peter Parker a little bit.
Is that what?
You know, I love a little bit.
Hyper time
a little
Flash, but okay. All right.
But yeah, that was the big news that I thought was very intriguing, and I think speaks to where we're at culturally with what people want from the character.
Yeah. I don't like Ultimate Invasion. I'll say that right now. I didn't like it at all. In fact, it ended.
We can save that debate for another time.
It ended, and I was like, when's the next issue coming out? Because it just didn't end.
Next week, there's the one shot that sets up everything.
Ugh. Sammy's not up to date with Ultimate stuff, right?
No.
It is. All right. So,
what was your pick of the week?
My pick of the week. My pick of there were some good ones. There was I'm gonna pick. Okay, there was a lot of good ones. I'm gonna, for the sake of time, Alan Scott, Green Lantern #1.
Oh.
Neither of you read it, and I think you're doing yourself a disservice. The premise of Alan, so DC Comics is doing a new kind of wave of Golden Age titles, which tie in with like the Golden Age superheroes of Justice Society. So Sandman, Green Lantern, Jay Garrick, the Flash, like they're getting their own series, right? And so they're exploring a lot of the World War II stuff, and each of the premises are a little bit different. So Sandman, it's Wesley Dodd Sandman. His series is about him pre-Justice Society, pre-World War II, getting visions of the future of both. So that's him. Then Jay Garrick, the Flash, is dealing with both the past and present, where he has a daughter that's been taken out of the timeline and put back in. And so we're seeing two timelines there. This one, though, really stands out because it's about a man, I believe it's in World War II. I don't think it's post-World War II yet. It's in World War II where Alan Scott is being blackmailed by J. Edgar Hoover for being gay.
I'm laughing at the J. Edgar Hoover part. Sorry.
I figured, yes. But he's being blackmailed by the... what's J. Edgar Hoover? FBI or CIA? FBI.
The FBI.
Yeah.
FBI. Yeah.
So J. Edgar Hoover blackmailing him for being gay. So Alan Scott being a gay man in World War II.
Interesting.
And then the question is like, but Alan Scott has kids, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so with the retcon of Alan Scott being gay, they made him essentially like comphet, right? I think he's gay and not bi, but I'm not quite sure. But the point is at some point, he gets ashamed that he's gay. He has a wife and has kids, and then rediscovers that again in the present day. You know? So we're also seeing one of the new retcons from the Golden Age book the new Golden Age book, where they did this retcon basically saying somebody was taking people out of the timeline and nobody remembers those people even existing. And so one of those people is an old villain of Alan Scott that we've never met before called the Red Lantern. And he's the World War II Red Lantern. Or he's actually post-World War II. He's like a Soviet. And so he's the Red Lantern. And so this ties in with that. And so there's a lot of really cool things going on with this title. But I think there's a very human element in this book that like is really good. So like Alan has a boyfriend in this. And then like this issue, literally the final page he ends up in Arkham, I think. Because Alan Scott's from Gotham City.
Oh, Jesus.
So like he ends up in Arkham in the past. And so,
That's crazy.
Yeah. So there's no timeline jumping in this. It's just in the past. But it's a really good book. I didn't expect to like it as much.
Yeah. DC has been putting out so many cool looking new books that I decided to spring for the DC Ultra Infinite Plus whatever subscription.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I can't add any more books to my pull list, so I'll just pay for this and then I'll read them a month later. So I will let you know what I think of Alan Scott Green Lantern 1 month from today, Dimitri. I'm looking forward to checking it out.
All right.
I read Flash #1 today from last month. That book was real good.
Yeah, I like it. It's cute, It also sucks for Jay that he has a daughter where their ages are now like she's his granddaughter. Like,
right, yeah.
They've aged up enough. Probably
How
even
are they
more than that.
Great granddaughter. How are they explaining that in the comic?
Like in her secret identity life?
Like, why is she... Oh, is the whole idea that they were also forgotten by the timeline and now they're back and they're just like that age? They're kind of out of time?
Yeah, the Boom, who is... whatever her name is, something Garrick. Not Joan, but I forget what her name is. She was taken out of time and then put back in. So.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So they're all like kind of displaced from time.
All these
like
kids.
Captain America kind of. Okay.
Basically, a lot of the retconned people, some were villains, but most of them were kid sidekicks of Justice Society members.
Interesting.
And so because of that, Justice Society never had kid sidekicks. And I think part of it is like they could have, like the Golden Age could have continued, but the Golden Age like ends abruptly and then Superman pops up in continuity. And so like the fact is like they had a legacy that was denied to them.
Yeah.
Because all these kids would have been Superman's age, if not slightly older.
Right. That makes sense.
They would have been the Justice League.
Yeah, I have been enjoying that DC seems to be reverting back to like the sweet spot post-crisis continuity before all the New 52 resets.
I've been waiting for so long for DC to get to where they are now. It's such a relief.
Yeah, I agree.
Sammy, what else did you read from this week? You read a lot.
Yeah, I read a pretty decent variety. All right, so Edenwood, talked about that. Dracula. I know we talked about Gone, but did we talk about Gone live or was it like behind the scenes setting up? I can't remember.
I think we did talk about it on live, but what is Gone about?
Basically, from what I've noticed so far, there's a huge discrepancy between those who are just starving poor. Like if you're not stealing or like eating out of trash cans and stuff, you're gonna starve. Like your family's gonna starve. Like from what I've gathered, the area that they live in kind of seems like the type gives off like the Star Wars vibe. When you see the movies, it's like sand. Like it just seems like a place where you're not growing vegetation. Like you're not gonna have a garden. Seems like that kind of place. So that's where it starts off. If I give away any more, I'm definitely gonna screw up like the leading up to like the oh my gosh, what's gonna happen. So I've got to I'm really bad at spoiling, but it's so good. Like it's the main character is this little girl, and she gets separated from like her home, and it's
all right. Is it worth picking up?
It is definitely worth picking up.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of action and I think it's worth the money because you can definitely tell like they put a lot of money into the book. Like the paper quality is crazy good. It's the same size as like the Black Label books.
Mm.
But for the paper quality, the cover quality, and then the story period, I mean, $8.99 feels really good, especially after I just left the book fair with my kid.
Yeah.
And the books at the book fair, they're
Yeah.
good price, but they're expensive. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think it's worth it.
I think I'll pick it up. I definitely wanna. I definitely want to check it out. There was another.
Definitely
We
should.
did it. We peer pressured him to buy an indie comic.
You need to buy indie.
I get
What is
indie books.
wrong?
I get it. It's just I don't get them as often because I try to read like literally every Marvel and DC book. Like that's always my ultimate goal is to never miss out on a Marvel or DC book. But it's too big of a goal. But you know. It is what it is.
Sammy, could I ask a related question?
Sure.
So, were you? I know you mentioned that you work in a comic shop.
hmm
Were you there for this to go on sale this week? I was curious, like how it did sales wise, or if you know
So
if like people were
Forgone.
yeah, or like if you know if like was it popular with pull lists? Like, how's it doing? I'm curious.
So the shop that I work at, we didn't get in Gone. So they didn't put
Oh,
in
okay,
for Gone.
gotcha.
They didn't put in for that one. But the shop that I went to today, because we were in another city, like an hour and a half away, and the shop did have like a couple
Gotcha.
copies left. So I don't
Gotcha.
know how many they got. But I've seen a lot of people posting it online, like giving it a lot of
Mhm.
love. I think too,
Okay.
like for me, when it came to like the Devil's Cut, like those some of those artists I've met in person, like I have sketches from like Tuolete in my sketchbook and stuff like that. Like, you know, you meet them and you like
Right.
see their drive for their company and it's their baby, you know? And I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't care how Distillery does with their content. Like, I want to buy them all because I just want to
Right.
like support them. But it's very nice that it's really
Yeah.
good. Um, so I'm happy that it's good.
Yeah, because that Tool Latoy Becky Cloonan one was the one that really caught my eye. I was like, that looks really cool. Definitely want to pick that one up when it comes out soon.
Yeah, the Devil's Cut really like sucked me into like every single story because it was like
Yeah,
you were saying, like the 3 pages is like such a teaser that you just want everything.
yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm gonna have to pick that up next week then.
Yeah, you definitely should.
For the sake of time, I want to run through real quick the thoughts of the things that we read this week. So we'll keep our blurbs fairly brief. Again, just for the sake of time. Marvel Zombies Black, White, and Blood #1. I read it. Sammy read it. I don't think Brian read it, right?
I did not. What?
Okay.
How was it? What's everybody's take on?
Sammy?
So like I said, I specifically picked out a couple Marvel and a DC book because I knew that you guys were like more into superheroes. So I wanted to make sure I grabbed like a couple superhero books. And like I mentioned to you guys behind the scenes, like I grade like 50 books a day. And like I am always like flipping through, I'm like, oh shit, like so crazy, like going through these vintage books. So like if it's like new, I haven't read it in like a couple years. As far as Marvel DC, I'm like behind. And I've been reading nothing but indie like daily. So with that being said, I had to like give that little piece before I say that I didn't love it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I didn't like it. It was too focused on hopelessness. It was like this is like such a terrible word. Like I'm a little tired, so I'm for the lack of better words, it felt lazy.
Yeah.
Like it felt like it was like lazy writing. Like I could have asked my kid to like read a zombie book and he would have came up with the same thing. And I don't know, the art's really good. Like I grabbed the Gabriel Del Otto. I love his work. But it wasn't for me.
So something I've brought up before is like I'm a continuity whore. I love continuity. I like shared universes, right? And so this was not linked to the Marvel Zombies continuity previously. I thought these would be like untold stories, but it is not. Like there's 3 stories in this anthology. One with a Daredevil, one like it's a Daredevil story, and I thought that could be in continuity, but I mean I forget. I don't know everything about Marvel Zombies. I've read them all, but like, whatever. There's a lot. But the Spider-Man one was not in continuity, and then I forget what the third one was.
It was Moon Knight with Khonshu, and then
I didn't
Iron
like
Man.
that one. There was a cool thing with Anubis and the zombies. That part was cool, but like for the most part, like this book, you're right. It's really hopeless, right? Like, but that's the Marvel Zombie books anyway. Like they're supposed to be like, well,
right.
Like the way it ends, I think in Marvel Zombies Reborn or whatever it was called Return. Marvel Zombies Return, I think it was called, is that like it is so hopeless that they pass the hopelessness on in a time loop, so it keeps it contained. But yeah, everybody dies.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just kind of how it works.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, touche. You're right about the hopelessness. I mean, that's how it goes in like the zombie apocalypse, right? But like for the Spider-Man story, for example, like not to ruin it, whatever, for people that haven't read it, but he's like, oh, I have hope. I have hope. I'm gonna get through the apocalypse because I have hope. And then he's like using that word like an awful lot. And at the end of his like part of the story, he's like, basically like, I don't have hope anymore, like whatever. I don't care. And the way that I feel like it was is like, as it kind of like goes without saying that he had hope, and like it went without saying that he had given up. So like, why not use that like verbiage for like something else?
I think it should. I mean, it could have been a punchline. Like, he could talk about hope all he wants, and then when he gets bitten and turned into a zombie, he could turn to Jonah and he could be like, I hope you stay for dinner. And then like, you know what I mean? Like one of those like cheesy punchlines, but like, whatever. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I
had, oh, sorry.
No, it was okay. It was whatever.
These are the like anthology books, right? It's like a bunch of stories by different creative teams, each one.
One was Garth Ennis. I think the Daredevil one was Garth Ennis.
Oh.
I mean,
you're like moving on.
I am not a fan of Garth Ennis at all.
You hate indie books and you love Garth Ennis. We know, Dimitri. We know that's how you feel.
I hate. Yeah. I do like Garth Ennis's the like Punisher run, or his multiple runs. But in this, his book only had the Punisher appear for like a split second in a silhouette, and then like that was it. It didn't seem like Garth Ennis wrote it, for better or for worse. It just was a blah kind of story anyway.
One thing I will say is I definitely feel like the Punisher will have a bigger part in the story, and I hope it gets better. Like, I had my husband read it too because he's a big fan of like these characters. Super disappointed Wolverine wasn't in it, and he was on like most of the covers. I was waiting. Didn't happen. Spoiler alert.
Are you guys telling me they put Wolverine on a cover just to sell stuff?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like Marvel Comics. That doesn't sound like something they do.
Exactly.
Brian's sarcasm is off the charts today.
That I do know about the modern Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I totally understand.
The one thing I will say is like the Punisher, I definitely feel like is probably immune to the zombie thing, because if you notice, his silhouette was like pure white. And everything was just like really gory, really bloody. And the Punisher was just pure for some odd reason. And I think it might be because he just is immune and might be like the savior of this whole like situation.
Because this is an alternate zombie continuity than Marvel Zombies, so anything can happen. I know that somebody pointed out that like Luke Cage was originally supposed to be immune to bites because he had unbreakable skin.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
But then they an artist accidentally drew him in the background as a zombie, and they couldn't go with that storyline then. And so they're like, oh, well, never mind.
Maybe a zombie coughed in his mouth or something.
I don't know if it works that way, but that sounds like a fun Friday night.
That's my no prize explanation as to what happened.
Sammy, Amazon's Attack. I didn't get to read it, but I read Wonder Woman #1. I didn't read Wonder Woman #2 or Amazon's Attack #1 from this week. But was it good?
The cover art I feel like a tough crowd when it comes to like DC and Marvel. I feel like a super tough crowd.
No,
I don't know if you guys get people that are ever like meh.
You know, that's why we start off with our picks, and then we eventually will get to the ones we're like about.
I'll show you the Wonder Woman that I have in my collection. It's like Golden Age Wonder Woman from Sensation. Like this is my Wonder Woman right here.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So like for me, Amazon Attack #1, I picked it up because of the title, I'll be honest with you. And I was looking at DC, I was like, I'm gonna grab one book, and I was like, Amazon Attack, like this title just cracked me up. Like Amazon Attacks, like say it out loud.
Yeah.
No, I liked the action in it, like, you know, girl power, you know, get all 3 of the BA like Amazonian women in there. The only thing I didn't like about it, and I'll be honest, it's probably because I read so much indie, is it seemed like so political and just so like too relevant for me. Like when I read comics, I want to get away from the world that we live in and like the issues around me. Like Tony's in the military, so I'm already like know a lot about like trying to keep up with like what's going on in the world. And when I read a comic, I don't want that. So like for some people, like they really love when comics are relevant.
But like right, like a lot of indie books are some sort of commentary, right?
Not in the way that I'm saying.
Oh, you like mean they like really actually like political politics.
Like it felt like Washington, very political.
That's out of the
literally like the president is in this comic book. Yeah. Like the president of the US is like literally in this. Yeah. They're at the White House. You know what I mean?
That's the events from Wonder Woman. Because what ended up happening was I think there was like an assassination plot from a Themysciran, and so they said all Themyscirans have to go back to Themyscira. And so they're literally hunting down Amazons to send them back, but a lot of Amazons don't want to go back, and then a lot die. So there's like this government squad that is capable of taking down Amazons, and Wonder Woman is obviously there to stop that from happening, and that's what's going on in Tom King's Wonder Woman run.
Can I ask a question, Sammy? Was there like was there any like good action in this comic that you read at all?
Stuff blew up. Miss Marvel's in it.
Okay.
They like, you know, blow out of the top of a building and land super like dramatically in Times Square. And like the action was good. It was like halfway through the action part kicked in. But it was more like so basically women are dressing up and just like doing like acting the part of Amazonian women, like wearing the Wonder Woman symbol and stuff, and then doing terrorist attacks. And so that's why they're like, oh, bad influence, like blah blah blah. You're banned. We don't want you influencing our people. And so they start getting bans and stuff like that. So
interesting.
They end up in Washington because they don't want that, and
it's just too much Washington for you.
I would just say like the politics of it, I guess. It just doesn't let me like fully escape. You know what I mean? Like I hate Fairyland. I love that. Total opposite.
Yeah. I will say if I bought a book that was called Amazon's Attack and it mostly had people talking at the state capitol, I would also be mad. I'd be like, when are these Amazons gonna attack? I was promised an Amazon attack.
Amazon's attack.
So the Amazons don't attack anyone. They're getting attacked and defending themselves.
Okay. I guess that's all right. I like when they attack.
Yeah. The art's good. The action's good. Like, I can't say it's bad because I know like this has been like the Wonder Woman, like the whole storyline for a long time. So
it's just not.
I can't say it's bad. It's just not for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I will say I think I like having political commentary in my comics more than you do, but even I kind of read that Wonder Woman story, and I'm like, this feels a little on the nose.
The Tom King stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is
I'm
really
like, this
on the
is
nose.
a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little bit on the nose, but I don't know. I'm willing to see where it goes. But I did have a similar feeling of like, it's maybe a bit much.
Brian, I'm gonna run through something real quick with you, the list of all your
Let's do it.
comics and
Yes.
quick sentence reviews. All right.
Okay, let's do it.
Unstoppable Doom Patrol #7 finishes off the 7-issue miniseries.
Oh, such a good book.
Six of Landing.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it so much, especially because the last 2 issues were like a nice little 2-parter that kind of tied together the history of the characters in a really fun and interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm super sad that it was just a miniseries. I was hoping that they would decide to let it become an ongoing. They've done that with a few books recently that were originally announced as miniseries, and then they've expanded it, especially because the art was great. Chris Burnham on the art, Dennis Culver's writing was really good. So I hope these characters come back again in some form. It kind of leaves it in an interesting cliffhanger where the story ends, but then there's a nice little tease of like possible stories to come. So I hope they come back and do more.
All right, that was a long sentence, but I'm just gonna assume it's a run-on.
It was a run-on sentence. There was a couple semicolons in there.
I'm gonna leave this talk with the thing that a good writer can write a really good Doom Patrol miniseries, but I think to do an ongoing series, you need a weird writer.
You don't feel like Dennis Culver's weird enough?
I don't think like this run was weird enough. And so I'm like, I love it. I love this run, but it's like I can't imagine this run being an ongoing.
Right.
You know?
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. Especially when your competition is Gerard Way and Grant Morrison and Rachel Pollack. You got to get weirder.
I've only read sparingly some of those ones. Like my first Doom Patrol stuff was when they would appear in other people's comics. That was like my first introduction. And then the TV show is really good. So. Yeah. Fantastic. All right, quick, Conan the Barbarian #4. Now under some other publisher.
Yes, Titan Comics. Yeah. This book owns Bones. The art is super good. The artist, Rob Delatorre, is like the reincarnation of Joe Kubert and John Buscema, and it's real fun.
All right,
recommended.
Dark X-Men #3.
I love a comic where a bunch of weirdo villains and people have to get together to do a thing, so this book is very entertaining to me.
Yeah, as an X-Men fan, I love deep cuts, and so like rando mutants that we haven't seen for 20 years our time pop up. Yeah. I'm like, oh shoot, okay, cool.
And also this comic ends with the reveal that the clone of Madeline Pryor, who's also a clone of Jean Grey, is going to team up with Ben Reilly, aka Chasm, and it's going to be great.
Okay, all right.
Can't wait. Let's do it.
Jean Grey #3 for me. I don't know where this miniseries is going, but now I'm getting a little better understanding. It's all just in her head going through stuff. I don't know the point of it all. I know where it's going, but I don't know the point of it all. They're just like what if issues to me.
Right. And now we know from Immortal X-Men she's trapped in the white hot room with everybody else. So
yeah. Which I like the interconnectedness of it. That's the part that I like. Same. Miss Marvel, the New Mutant. Look, I will always go up to bat for Kamala Khan. I will always. I like this series. The art switches artists throughout the whole series, but in the issue. But I liked it. Not much happens, but there were some good parts.
Yeah, I liked this issue quite a bit. I think it continues to be a fun book. I just want them to give her a proper ongoing. You know?
I mean, Look, I don't need her to have a mutant power right now because her mutant power is dormant. But I would be surprised if they don't finish this series, this miniseries. Is it a series or miniseries?
It's a miniseries. I think next issue is the last issue.
I'd be surprised if they don't make her have her mutant power by the end. I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I don't think I need it. I don't need it, but I'm just saying I'd be surprised if they didn't finish the Miss Marvel, the New Mutant, with her mutant power. So
feels like they would be totally ignoring the setup payoff that they've established from the beginning here. So
Realm of X #3. I'm not a big fan of magic and mutants together. Like magic, not magic the character, but magic in general.
Right.
But like this one seems interesting. I just didn't read it.
I think this book's pretty fun. I like the characters who are in it together. Although this issue, I think, had a fill-in artist who draws eyes real weird. That's my thought on this book.
Okay.
He draws eyes real weird. They
Like,
draw eyes real weird. I don't
right.
know what their gender is. Yeah,
Right.
that's my thought on this book.
Uncanny Avengers #3. I'm digging this run.
Yeah, this is another one that I'm like, I wish this was an ongoing.
Yeah, but none of this fall of X stuff
really
is
fun.
ongoing.
No, I know. This is the one though out of all of them that I'm like, I really wish this one was an ongoing because I think this team is really fun.
Yeah,
I like when Captain America is written on the mutant side. I think for way too long they've written him not that way, and I'm like, this is how he should have been all along. Also, the next issue cover or the next issue blurb being the worst person you know just made a great point, which is one of my favorite Onion headlines. Made me laugh very hard.
I didn't see that part, but all right. A really good issue. I don't know if you read it. Captain America #2 came out this week.
I've not been reading the current Captain America.
It is really good. It is 2 for 2 now, and so if you're interested, because it does a lot of modern day. There's a modern day story, and then there's a pre-World War II story that deals with the Nazis' rise in New York. Literally, Nazi rallies in Central Park.
They're the German American Bund.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they call him by name. So and then you get like Strucker, like von Strucker, in the past. You get Baron Zemo in the past, and like there's some cool things. And it's skinny Steve Rogers in the past. That's the story.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And
I'll have to check it out when it hits the app, I think.
Yeah. Green Arrow #5. I love Green Arrow. This introductory series arc is kind of weird, but they're doing a lot of time travel and whatever. I just need them to get back to basics. So after this arc, just get back to like Ollie and his family and stuff. Like, let's just get back to some Green Arrow hijinks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Alpha Flight #3. Did you read it?
That one I have not been reading.
Okay.
I read the first issue and liked it, but not strongly enough to like keep going.
Yeah.
So
I've been liking it. I mean, it is what it is. They're Alpha Flight characters, but
right.
I mean, Dakin is in it, so it's like, okay, cool. And then last but not least for me, Marvel Unleashed #3. It's like Pet Avengers, so it's also really sad. If you read Marvel Unleashed #1, it's all about a dog that has nothing to live for, and like, it's so sad.
Which dog?
He's a new create. Well, her name is
D-Dog.
Okay. Her name's D-Dog. So D-Dog...
Like D-Man?
Yes. Well, yes. D-Dog finds D-Man's mask in the garbage and puts it on to be a hero. But D-Dog has no owner. And then, like... And it's sad because they talk about the afterlife for pets and how your owner will be there to meet you when you die. And they're like, nobody will meet you there.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's issue 1 is way too sad. It is like, I don't know why they are
so not for kids. Got it.
They're purposely torturing this. They're torturing this dog by like having nobody. I think there's gonna be a payoff, right? I think it's gonna be like the cartoon movie League of Super Pets. If you did you read that? Watch that one, the cartoon movie with Crypto and Ace and stuff. DC's League of Super Pets.
I've scrolled past it. I know it's on like the streaming services, but I haven't watched it yet.
So I'm gonna challenge you. This is a crazy take. The beginning scene in DC's League of Super Pets is one of the greatest Superman scenes of all time.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I will give it that.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I watched it with my son. It's pretty good.
That beginning scene, I'm like, oh.
I don't know if the rest of the movie quite lives up to that, but that
beginning
scene
great. Though.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the end, I mean, spoiler. It's like, I mean, the movie's about like animals that don't have owners, so it's like,
right.
You know, I wonder how that's gonna end in a kids movie. So, you know, it's kind of like this with Marvel Unleashed, but there's some really good stuff. It's literally the Pets versus Blackheart.
Oh,
Mephisto's.
Blackheart?
Yes.
Marvel versus Capcom's own Blackheart?
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, all in all, we are out of time. I want to thank you guys both so much for coming on the show and taking time out of your Thursday to be here and to be talking comics. Because truthfully, like, I don't know, it means a lot to like talk about comics, you know, with people who who love it. Before we get going though, Sammy, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
You can find me online, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We have a shop. We're on eBay, sometimes on whatnot. Just everywhere, I guess. Skeleton Key Comics. I just keep it Skeleton Key Comics everywhere.
That's smart.
So that's how you can find me.
Awesome. Brian, same question.
Find me on TikTok, Captain Comic Rex on TikTok.
Is it Rex with an S or a Z? Because I've been seeing
Z. I think it's both. I think the handle is with a Z, and then the regular like name is with an S. I don't know how that happens. Okay. I didn't.
All right, I've been tagging you guys both on Instagram and TikTok, so you know.
There you go. Oh yeah, I'm on Instagram too, but I don't post on it that often. If you want to see funny pictures of my son occasionally, follow me on Instagram.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. Thank you to everybody out there who is watching and or listening. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. But if you're listening to the podcast, and that is a perfectly valid way to digest the show. If you're listening to the podcast, it's wherever you get your podcasts from. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you want to find us on social media, TikTok and Instagram are our two biggest ones. We're all over social media. Just find us at The Keeg Show. At The Keeg Show. TikTok and Instagram, sure. Those are, you know, probably updated a little bit more than Twitter is. But, you know, it is what it is. If you want to give back to the show, patreon.com/The Keeg Show. If you want to follow or find comic shop near you, comicshoplocator.com. We got a lot of shows at The Keeg, and even more will start back up again when the SAG-AFTRA strikes are over. So, you know, definitely stay tuned for that. But we're talking a lot about comics in the meantime. So, you know, if you like comics, this is the place to be. Other than all of that, that's pretty much it. Thank you, Sammy, first timer. Thank you, Brian, old timer. Is that fair?
You're not wrong.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you to everybody out there. Once again, I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been another episode of Comic Talk for the week of Thursday, October 26th, 2023. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.